Station. What is up, everybody? Welcome to One Collection Down and welcome to Actionfest 2025, man. Tonight we got a great movie to review. It is the final movie on my channel for Actionfest 2025. Of course, Actionfest continues. But before we get into all of that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody that subscribed. Thank you to everybody that's watched the videos. You guys have been phenomenal. These movie reviews have gotten some of the most views I've had on the channel. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining me and Robbie on Action Fest this year. So yeah, man, thanks a lot, guys. All right. So as always, I'm joined by a killer panel. So let me bring these guys out so we can get this party started. First up, I want to bring my brother out, the host of Blood, Splatter, Chatter, my boy, Verno Station.
What up? What up? Happy to join Action Fest over here on One Collection Down. Stoked to be here. Haven't seen this movie since high school, so it was a great excuse to rewatch it, man.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, man. Always a pleasure having you, Verno, man. Anytime I get a chance to do one of these things with you, I jump at it. So,
Hell yeah,
thanks again, brother, for joining us on the last movie of the One Collection Down portion of Action Fest 2025. All right, man. Let me bring out my next brother, man. Of course, the guy who put all of this together, my bro and yours, my homie, Rockin' Robbie Billups Station.
You tell the angels in heaven you've never seen evil so singularly personified as you did in the face of the man who killed you. Station, pop, pop, boom. What's up, man? Happy to be here. Thank you for joining Action Fest this year. It's the first time we've ever had somebody join Action Fest. It's the greatest to have you join us. So thank you so much. And I know that you may have some people that dropped out of this stream. All I want to say is, no, I don't want no scrubs. We got the best of the best here tonight.
Oh man, yeah. Well, thank you, brother, for making me a part of Action Fest. Like I said, these movie reviews have done way better than I thought they would have done. I mean, I do a little live show on Fridays, and I got to tell you, man, these movie reviews are blowing that shit out the water.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear.
Oh yeah, we just popped 1,000 on freaking Chronicles of Riddick, which just blew my mind. I was like, damn, I caught the algorithm with Chronicles of Riddick.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
there's 1,000 idiots everywhere, bro. Don't worry about it.
I love that movie. I'm always gonna defend. That's my Exorcist 3. Okay, that's my Exorcist 3.
Get the fuck out of here. Comparing it to Exorcist 3, the greatest psychological thriller of the 90s.
Thanks again, brother, for hanging out with me tonight. And I got one more guest tonight, man. My homie, one of the up and coming, if not, one of the best comic book review YouTubers out there right now. I've known this guy a long time. He's one of my brothers. I'm talking about 9 Panel Grid Station.
What's up, gentlemen? Thank you, Fable, for having me. Saving the best for last here. Not talking to myself here. Talking about the movie, the last closing out of Action Fest here. So I appreciate that. There's a lot to unpack with this movie, man. This is going to be a great conversation. There are so many things that I can't wait to dive in for this one. So I'm excited, man. This is going to be fun.
Plus, have you seen his panels throughout the month, man? This is the best panel, too. He's saving the best for last.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man. Don't do that. Don't do that to Mark. Don't do that to Mark.
I will. 100%.
Oh, man. Hell yeah, man. So, yeah, True Romance, fellas. Let's get right into it, bro. So let me just get some stats out the way on True Romance before we dig into this thing. It was released September 10th, 1993. It had a budget of $12.5 million, and it had a box office of around $12.5 million.
I would call that a success.
So yeah, it broke even. It was directed by Tony Scott, who had previously directed Top Gun in 1986, Beverly Hills Cop 2 in 1987, Days of Thunder in 1990, and The Last Boy Scout in 1991. So this was his following film after those.
All right, then it definitely was not a success.
And it was written by Quentin Tarantino, man, who had hoped to direct this film, but ultimately sold the screenplay to finance his directorial debut, Reservoir Dogs. Though initially a box office failure, this film's positive reviews with critics praising the dialogue, the characters, the offbeat style, helped it earn a cult following. It has come to be considered one of Scott's best films and one of the best American films of the 1990s. In 2017, Empire Magazine ranked it the 83rd greatest film of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, so what is this movie about? It's basically about two kids in love, right? Two psychopathic kids, I would say, in love. That fall in love at first sight kind of thing. And in the process of doing that, fall into this seedy criminal underworld, in an effort to try to escape their lives, right? Like Christian Slater's character wants to, he works in a comic shop. He doesn't make much money. His girlfriend Alabama is a call girl, and when they meet each other and they fall in love, they just want to leave their lives and move on to somewhere else. But they have to go through a wild ass roller coaster in order to make it happen. I'll just say that I did not see this movie when it first dropped. Right? I didn't even know about this movie. I don't know. Somehow it went under my radar. And I guess I try to like go back and figure out, when did I first see True Romance? But I kind of pinpointed it. It was around the time that Pulp Fiction blew up, right? Because even Pulp Fiction, I didn't watch in the movie theater. That was a word of mouth thing. Like, people were like, "Oh, that Pulp Fiction shit is really good. You need to watch that," right? And John Travolta was having like a career resurgence, and I heard he was really good in it. So I watched Pulp Fiction and was completely enamored with Pulp Fiction, and that's when I do that, I have to go down the rabbit hole. Who wrote this thing? Who directed this thing, right? And when I was like, Quentin Tarantino, and then that's when I started watching Reservoir Dogs, and that's when I caught this little gem that he had wrote back in the day. So, yeah, when I first saw this thing, I was just like, this is one of the wildest fucking movies I have ever seen up until that point, right? And in hindsight, when I think about it, this movie, like, we just watched Hard Target. Hard Target came out in 1993. So did this film, right? But Hard Target has so many remnants of the 80s with it, if that makes any sense. This kind of film, to me, was the genesis or the beginning of the 90s identity, or the style of filmmaking going forward after it, and the films that came after it that kind of broke away from the 80s. But yeah, I absolutely love this thing. Has a stellar cast. Unbelievable. Whoever's the casting director in this, like, they must have had a crystal ball, because half of these people were not even the stars we know them as today when they were casting this film. But yeah, great performances all around, wacky ass script, and of course Quentin Tarantino dialogue that you could just eat up. But yeah, I wanted to know what you guys felt about this film. Verno, what did you think, or what are your overall thoughts on True Romance, bro?
First off, dude, like, it's so much of what you just said is like same exact for me. I did the same thing. I'm like, when did I watch this? And it's exactly what you said. I think so many people watch Pulp Fiction and were like, what the fuck was that? And then you go back and find this. I thought forever, until like 10 minutes before we start rolling, that Reservoir Dogs came out after this, but he sold it before and financed it. But Reservoir Dogs came out first. And that anyway, that just kind of fucked me up. Same thing as you. I think we was on a stream, maybe Robbie. I think you might have mentioned some of the people that were in it, because I hadn't seen it in so long. You're like Brad Pitt, Dennis Hopper. I was like, whoa, shit, I forgot all those people were in it. Gary Oldman. And then watching it, it's like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme. You're like, oh, like every scene somebody is in it that is awesome. You know what I mean?
That's
This
Valky from Perfect Strangers.
exactly, dude. Probably the most exciting part of the whole movie. But I remember that fucking me up the first time that I saw it. Saw him speak without the accent. It like broke my little heart. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was putting on an accent. But I loved it. I loved it. I hadn't, like I said, hadn't seen it forever. It sweeps you off your feet. So many great moments in it. Like so many great scenes that just stack up on top of each other. So many great characters and performances. And it's just a cool movie. It's a cool ass movie. There's a couple, and we'll get to them as we go through, because I'm assuming I know what we're going to be doing here. There's a couple little nitpicks that I have. There's two big ones that kind of add up a little bit, but not enough to make me not like love the movie. It was a great rewatch, great revisit, and I was about to say undersung, and I think it is. I think it is a little bit undersung. It's got the Tarantino name on it, so it gets talked about, but maybe not enough when you're talking about like the best. I don't even know if I'd call it an action movie, but just like cool movies of the fucking 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But, yeah.
no,
I really
absolutely.
enjoyed it. I'm glad I picked this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, not for nothing, I love when Tarantino directs, and I love when he writes his films, of course. But a pairing of him and Tony Scott, not a bad fucking pairing, man. I would have loved to see a little more of that going forward, because especially if he's going to go do the action genre, I would have liked to see that combination a little more. But anyway, my man Rocket Robbie, True Romance. Overall thoughts, my brother.
Bruh, I was like, as soon as I saw your Action Fest lineup, I was like, True Romance. Why? Because there's nothing that excites me more than a very valid reason to dust off the Blu-ray of anything in my library that I want to revisit and love. And I love True Romance, man. I love this film. I first watched it in like the late 90s, right? So Pulp Fiction came out in 94. I'm 13. I didn't watch Pulp Fiction. I was aware of it because I watched a lot of MTV, right? So I was aware that Pulp Fiction was a thing, but I didn't know what it was. It was just this thing in my head. But in the late 90s is when me and my homies started getting together on Friday nights in particular. And we would go to Blockbuster Video or the movie gallery, right? And we would go through and find movies. And at this time, I'm getting into Richard Linklater. I'm getting into Kevin Smith. I'm getting into independent cinema, right?
Film, yeah.
And I'm looking for any movie that is written and directed by the same person, right? And I remember the day that my buddy was like, have you ever seen Pulp Fiction? I was like, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. And I watched Pulp Fiction at my grandmother's house on a VHS, and my mind was blown away. I've never seen a movie like that, right? So as we're going through the video stores weekly, I remember coming across this movie that was written by Quentin Tarantino, but directed by Tony Scott. At the time, I'm a little bit of snobby Robbie. And I'm like, oh, this is the guy who did fucking Top Gun?
Top Gun.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. By the way, nowadays, non-snobby Robbie fucking loves Top Gun.
Top Gun, yeah.
Top Gun's amazing. Top Gun Maverick's amazing.
Yeah.
Tony Scott's amazing, right? But at the time, like, I remember watching it. I fell in love with it. Loved it. The biggest thing that stood out to me was like the different performances from certain people, right? I'm like, Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken, what great roles they have in this movie for Christopher's sake, one scene, right? Gary Oldman. What? That's Gary Oldman? That's Dracula? Like, what's going on here, man? Like, I love this movie. So I loved it back then. And then the more I got into Quentin Tarantino, the more I realized the backstory of this film, that this was his magnum opus. This was like meant to be his first film. He could never get the financing together to make it. He was also doing Natural Born Killers. When he initially, the very first script of this movie, Clarence is also a writer and is writing Natural Born Killers. And so it would intercut with scenes from that movie, right? And then he decided, I should split these fucking movies and all this stuff, right? And then you find out later on in life that he got to a point where, you know what, maybe I should just sell this and fuel my next movie. But what's crazy about that is he was offered to direct this movie. Tony Scott, apparently, so he knew somebody, Quentin knew somebody who knew Tony, and they gave Tony 2 scripts, Reservoir Dogs and True Romance. And Tony Scott said, I want to do Reservoir Dogs. And the agent or whatever, she said, well, Quentin's writing that for him. But what about the other one? He goes, well, I would do the other one. She's like, okay, let's do it. But then Reservoir Dogs came out. It was a hit. So then they tell Quentin, yo, we can finance this movie. You can direct it. Tony will back off of directing this film and executive produce it because that's how much faith he had in Quentin and his future, right? Quentin said no. He was offered the same deal with Natural Born Killers, but he said no because he said, I wrote both of those films to be my first movie, and I've already made my first movie. So now I got to write what's going to be my second movie. And now knowing what we know about Quentin Tarantino, that makes a whole hell of a lot of sense, doesn't it? Like 100%. This dude's like, I got 10 movies to make. He studies film, and you can feel that in every project, right? So then you find out that Quentin Tarantino's script was non-linear, right? Yeah. You find out that like it was like shuffled, kind of like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, like a lot of his films. Right. Tony Scott put it in order. Now, for the longest time, I heard that Quentin didn't like that, right? But I was like, it doesn't matter. It's still a great movie. Then you find out from Quentin's mouth, right? I love True Romance. One of my favorite movies. I'm glad they made the changes. However, I personally still would like to see somebody cut it up the way that Quentin intended it. That would be intriguing.
It's out there. I guess you can find a good version of that.
I'm certain it is, right? Like somebody has to have done this in this age of wonder and internet that we have right now. But I'm rambling. However, I will say this. I fucking love this movie as it sits. I have watched the director's cut, I think pretty much all the time. I know there's a cut down version of this, but man, I love this fucking movie. This was the moment I realized Patricia Arquette was hot as fuck. This was the moment that I was like, Christian Slater is cool. And also everybody else, Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper, Samuel L. Jackson in the tiny little bit. This is the movie that told me, Robbie, you need to eat pussy. You know what I'm saying? This is the movie that taught me that. But no, I love this movie. I think it's great. I love it for what it is. I wouldn't change a damn thing about the journey of this movie. Like I used to lament the fact that Quentin didn't get to do this as his first movie. If that was true, we wouldn't have gotten Reservoir Dogs in the way that we have it today, right? Which is a brilliant film. And Quentin's like whole career to me is fantastic. Like it's absolutely amazing that a kid that like skipped film school, worked at a video store, was able to create this. I wanted to do what Quentin did. I got to settle with fucking YouTube. However, we finally arrived, but no, True Romance is fucking amazing. It's great. It's awesome. Action-packed, quick, fast, full of wit, great dialogue. And now I'm a huge Tony Scott fan. You know, before he made this movie, he made The Hunger, one of my favorite Tony Scott movies. Yeah. So, and it also really elevates my soul when I hear Quentin Tarantino go, oh, I'm a huge Tony Scott fan. I was so excited when he took on the movie. I thought Days of Thunder was brilliant. Quentin, me and you, come from the same cloth.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, man. I love that the cast of this movie, because this movie really, really is just Christian Slater, Alabama, and really like Bronson Pinchot and Michael Rappaport. Like
his name is Balky.
they're really the cast of this movie, but there's so many side characters and they all add to it, right? Like they all put their little bits in it. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie for 5 minutes.
Is it not crazy to think about how many of these people were in Tarantino, have become Tarantino staples, and he wasn't even on set any single fucking day? It makes no sense to me.
Some of the same, because it's a Weinstein production. So I looked into that. There's a couple of the main casting directors for this worked on
Mhm.
Reservoir Dogs and on Pulp Fiction. At
Yeah,
least
that
those
makes sense.
And then obviously he had the relationships, and he carried
Yeah,
the
well,
ones he liked with him.
brilliant casting directors that he worked with. I mean, these guys had, like I said, crystal balls. Like I said, Samuel L. Jackson, 5 minutes, and he chews up the little lines he has. The whole pussy thing, that's Samuel L. Jackson's line, and it was freaking amazing. Hell yeah, bro! I love to hear that you love this movie that much. But
Samuel L.
9-panel
Jackson
grid.
loves to eat pussy and rub feet.
He eats the butt too. He said, "I eat
Oh,
everything."
everything.
Same.
Eric, man, overall thoughts on True
Dude,
Romance?
I'm so glad I got to revisit this movie. It's been quite a while, but I've seen it a couple times in the past, and much like what you guys had talked about, like I came to this movie after I had seen Reservoir Dogs, and probably after Pulp Fiction too, after the buzz that is Tarantino kind of like hit the scene, and this movie oozes cool, and that's like the best part about it. It is just so it's like a time capsule movie for like the 90s, like maybe even late 90s kind of era, but it just exudes such, like, I don't know, cool vibes, man. I still look at like Christian Slater's character, and it's funny, you guys talked about, I can't remember, Fable, it might have been you talking about how he wanted to get away from his life, and I don't think that's necessarily true. He really, really dug his life. He's like, I get to work at a comic book store and listen, I get to read comics and listen to music all day. Like, does it get any better than that?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, like, I don't know, man. It's just really, really cool. The directorial approach, the writing, obviously, it feels like a Tarantino movie. Not only that, but it feels like Tarantino injecting himself into the movie. He is so very clearly Clarence in this movie, without a shadow of a doubt. Robbie, like some of the things that you were talking about, this feels, when I say it's like a time capsule movie, when I say that's to like kind of make the comparison to a couple movies you had mentioned. This feels like Kevin Smith's Clerks. This feels like Richard Linklater's Slacker. It feels like something that is the first outing for a writer, purposefully, that just like hits in such a big bad way that you don't get all that often. It's so stylistically different than the movies of that day and age, and kind of changes the game, right? That's the kind of writing that we got in this movie, which is again why it delivers on all of the promises that it makes as you're watching it, most of it being cool. So I dug it. I still dug it. It's a great movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree with all of you, and yeah, I love what you said about it being quintessentially 90s, but I feel like it's also a pivot, right? Like it's a pivot. Even though we missed the pivot, we saw the after effect and went back retroactively. But when you go back retroactively, you can say, "Oh, this is when shit started to change.
Mm-hmm.
This is when the 80s grip fell away, right? And this kind of stuff was taken over."
What killed the action movies of the 80s? It was independent cinema in the 90s, man. That was like, and some people that were not there or haven't gone back and looked at it, or there's a lot of people that are fans of film, in pop culture that are in their 20s that may not have dived back to some of these movies. That was a watershed moment in film, man. The rise of Miramax and Sundance and all these independent directors. And to me, Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater, Quentin Tarantino, that's like the holy trinity. And so many cool, different type movies you never would have gotten happen. Sadly, we don't get them anymore unless they're streaming on Netflix.
Yeah. Station. All right, man. Well, we've mentioned it several times in this stream, but the cast. What a freaking cast. And beyond the obvious, like we said Christian Slater, we said Patricia Arquette, we said Dennis Hopper, but Val Kilmer is in this thing as Elvis, man. Gary Oldman puts in a performance of a lifetime. I think it's one of his best roles, characters, all of that. Brad Pitt. You know what I mean? The guy who would
don't condescend to me, man. I'll fucking kill you.
Kill you, man.
The guy who's fucking tearing it up in F1 right now, making $500 million across the globe.
Kind of not that attractive in this movie, right? It's like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like
No, I would not do him in this movie. Like I would definitely do Alabama, maybe Clarence,
If I had to,
for
I'd fuck
sure,
Elvis. Yeah.
Yeah. Christopher Walken. I mean, come on. When he comes, he chews his scene up. And he's, again, only in the movie for 10, 15 minutes. Bronson Pinchot. Balky from Perfect Strangers. Who, I forgot who told me this. I think it was my boy George, 757 Hustle Show, who was in the chat earlier. He should have got nominated for something. I mean, the guy put in a freaking performance, Bronson Pinchot. Not going to lie. Samuel L. Jackson. Michael
I just wish that
Rappaport.
someone would come and save me from this situation.
Just take me away. Just take me away. Saul Rubinek, who plays Lee Donowitz. Conchata Farrell, who's the casting director for that cast that does the
TJ Hooker episode, right?
Yeah. She's in this shit. James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano himself, who has another awesome scene. Victor Argo as Lenny, Paul Bates as Marty, Chris Penn. Yeah, man.
Tom Sizemore.
Yeah. Kevin Corrigan, Paul Ben Victor, Michael Beach as the detectives.
Michael Rappaport, it's insane. The cast of this movie,
insane.
Crazy.
And this is the one time where how we have sometimes these big panels, but we don't have enough characters to go around.
Right.
like Hard Target.
We had
you can straight up be like, I like 5
Target.
performances.
Yeah.
But man, there's just too many to go around in this one. But I guess everybody has their favorite. I know who's mine, and I know somebody's gonna steal them. I mean, it's obvious. But let's see. I'll be nice tonight. It's the last show. I'll pass it on to my brothers. Verno, character or performance you want to highlight?
Usually I'll try to think of a couple like I definitely want to do. There's so many in this. I was just like, I didn't think of it. I'm not going to take them, but I'm going to say Gary Oldman is the best performance. Gary Oldman and Brad Pitt are the best performances. But it blew my fucking mind. There's no way, Rob. I think it was you. Somebody mentioned recently that Gary Oldman was in it. If they hadn't said that, zero chance I would have known that it was him. Like absolutely zero chance. But
this is that era of his career where you didn't know Gary Oldman was in these movies because he doesn't look or act like Gary Oldman.
It's so impressive. It's so impressive. But I'll go Dennis Hopper, and for mainly for like one thing. The scene that is so uncomfortable because of the language that's in it, which is like, God damn, Tarantino. Like, why did you have to put that word in so many of your movies so often? And the way that he uses it is like, I don't know, it's slightly uncomfortable. But the way that Dennis Hopper in that scene starts as like the victim, and then by the end of it, smoking the cigarette, and the way he's delivering that whole thing, and he's completely changed, and he's like running
the power shift
just
through dialogue and performance, man.
It's amazing. It's like two different characters at the start of his little speech till the end when he's basically accepted his fate and all that. And I love it. And then even before that, like the little, because you get a decent amount of him, more than a lot of the characters that you see, like you mentioned, Fable. The bit that you get with him and Christian Slater, just his reaction to it, like the father-son thing that they have.
You're just like your mother.
Fucking it. Yeah, all that stuff. He handles all that. Because it's hard in this movie. It's one thing. Like I watched this twice this week, and one of my takes on the first watch is like, I just want more of everybody. It's like not enough. It feels like it's weird because a lot of these people aren't that famous, like you're saying at the time. So it's not like they're really cameos. They're just these small parts. Like, but if they feel like cameos, you don't get enough of them. But he's one that you do. You get quite a bit from him. And I think it's just a year later he did Speed, so he looks like that Dennis Hopper that I know and love so goddamn much. So I'll go with him, man. He was great.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. We're talking about King Koopa here, man. From Mario Brothers. All of a sudden putting on this tour de force in just the 15 minutes that he's in this movie. I can't agree more, man. Dennis Hopper was absolutely awesome. That speech he gave was chilling. It was wildly racist, but it was chilling.
By the way, not based in fact very much at all. Much of what he said is not historically accurate. I looked into it.
But no, he was fantastic. All right, Robbie, favorite character or performance you want to highlight, man?
Well, first of all, I always heard that story was kind of true. Like the Moors going into
They
Sicily
did, but
and-
they were not. Well, I mean, I'll just say they weren't black. They were Arab Muslims, and the whole it was blonde and blue haired people in Italy up until then. Also not true. There was some, but it's always been ethnically diverse, and so those two things are true.
That fucking bit with Dennis Hopper was great, and Christopher Walken. And yeah, there's some language in there that we may like be like, oh, what the fuck today? But remember, one of the beauties of Quentin, and we'll talk about this later, is realistic dialogue. He was writing, he was very concerned about writing dialogue the way people actually spoke. And I hate to say it, but there's a lot of racist white dudes in Detroit. Okay, that's just the way it is, right?
And he also knew that would get under his skin because it's a Sicilian.
100%. And then Christopher Walken plays it so well, where he's like, like thrown out. But like all of that was scripted by Quentin. But there are a couple lines of improv dialogue, and it's when Dennis Hopper does the eggplant bit. And then one of my favorite bits is when, in response to that improv, Christopher Walken goes, "And you're a cantaloupe." Yeah. And everybody just laughs.
I love when he gets up and kisses him. Look at this guy. And he's got. I ain't killed nobody since 1984.
And they were and at the time, I didn't really have this long history of gangster movies, right? And then once you get into that history, dude, it totally makes sense. That's why James Gandolfini. Oh my God. I remember maybe it was the third or fourth time I watched this movie, but I remember the first time I watched this movie after having seen The Sopranos, I was like, holy shit, that's James Gandolfini. I completely forgot about that. He's vicious. He's terrifying. My favorite though, I'll do it, is this dude, man. It's Gary Oldman. What's his name? It's like Dextrous or
Drexel.
Are you taking Drexel?
Are you taking Walker or Walken or Drexel?
I'm taking Drexel. That's what I'm doing. I was just talking about that.
I knew somebody was going to steal him. It's okay.
I'm taking Drexel because you must think it's White Boy Day. Is it White Boy Day? No, man, I don't think so. It's hilarious, man, and it's so. We've seen Gary Oldman in great movies, right? You can talk about the Dark Knight trilogy. He's great in that. He really does personify Gordon. He steps out of it. You can talk about movies like Fifth Element, where he's like this mustache twirling villain, and it's cool. You can talk about Dracula, one of his most iconic roles, and how good he is in that movie. But then we could talk about smaller things like his role in The Contender. I don't know if anybody remembers The Contender, but he just plays like a congressman or legislator or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And he's a character actor, right? And when I learned what a character actor was in the Robbie Head of Film Dictionary, when I look up character actor, Gary Oldman's right next to it. And part of the reason is he blends himself into these roles. It's insane. If you show this movie to a 20-year-old today, and then after the fact tell them that was Gary Oldman, Commissioner Gordon, they will lose their fucking mind. They have no idea. Yeah. It's great. That whole bit, man, the way he delivers. So many people do so much with so little in this movie. But that's also the power of Quentin's scripts. Yeah. Right? I do not want it to be understated how fantastic of a script writer Quentin is. And dialogue is one of his strong suits. And it was always something that I strived for. And it was something that separated the Linklaters, Smiths, and Tarantinos from the rest, was their realistic, snappy dialogue that felt more real. Gary Oldman, though, in this movie is great. From the look, the scar, the dreads, the way he sits there, the way he talks, you must think is, all that. Let me tell you, you want some food? If you would have sat down and ate a egg roll, I love that. It's so good, dude. It's so good. Gary Oldman. I'm going to be that asshat to steal him.
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In my opinion, my humble opinion, people love to say that Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp is a great character actor, but I think Gary Oldman is the greatest character actor of our time, for sure. People
Hannibal,
like Christopher Walken, Samuel L. They're characters, right? But this guy, he's a chameleon. Like he can slip in any kind of role. And Drexel, like, not only is he funny, but he's also very fucking scary. Right?
Yeah.
There's some menacing shit that is like a guy crazy enough to be like this guy has got to be fucking nuts.
Dude, when Clarence first thing he says, he's like, "Where's that bitch?" And it feels threatening, right? And the way he talks, he's basically doing a Mr. Terrific, if you think about it, right? Like that voice, that like vocal resonance that he has, it's pretty spot on. And what's crazy is I love that you mentioned Johnny Depp, because Johnny Depp is a good character actor, but a lot of that goes into parody or caricature, right? Gary doesn't do that. If think about it, if Johnny Depp played this character, if he played Drexel in this movie, it would be way more characterized or more
theatrical.
More theatrical, more like a character. And there is still a subtlety, and that's what leads to that threat and that menace. He's funny, he's slightly cool, but he's also very scary. And I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, it might be like one of the. It's such a small role, but like pound for pound, like one of the most impressive performances that I've ever seen. Like it blew me away. I was so bummed out when he died because I hadn't seen it forever. There was so much that I forgot. Elvis, forgot all about that bit of the movie. So I'm like, oh, Gary Oldman's going to be the main guy. He's going to be the problem the whole time. When he died, I was like, fuck. But luckily, they have 10 others to replace him with that were just almost as good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When he grabs that shotgun, right, and he's talking to the guy, he's like, "Pass me the gat." He passes him, loading the shit, and then he's just like, rah, rah, and he just shoots both those dudes. Man, it's like
you get a little bit. I see Heroes for Hire out there in the chat, and I love that, right? Like, but like one of the things that you know a little bit about Drexel before, because Alabama says, because Clarence goes, "Is he black?" And he goes, "No, but he thinks he is." Says his mom's like Apache or some shit, but I don't believe him.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I was definitely.
We all know that.
We do. I love Drexel, man. He's fantastic. I love Gary Oldman. But nine panel, Eric, character or performance you want to highlight? There's still so many.
Fable, much like you, mine was taken because I would have said Dennis Hopper. I think that his performance is stupendous in this, and I think that it stands out so much because it's so different than every other part that he's played, where he's kind of like, you think of like the Easy Riders, you think of like Speed, which comes after this, but you think like that maniacal energy, that cocaine 80s energy that Dennis Hopper brings to almost every single role.
Blue velvet energy.
Yes. And he's like really calm, cool, and collected. He's 100% got that Chesterfield energy throughout this movie, right? That's all that dude is in this. So that would have been my pick. Drexel's another great pick as well. But like you guys said, there's like a litany of choices I can make here. If I'm going to pick one that stands out here, I'm going to say James Gandolfini, though.
Nice.
Because
let's go.
So this dude, well, we know James Gandolfini at this point, right? Like, just like most of these guys, like they've really like risen through the ranks and like become like these predominant superstars. But seeing him in this movie, being as young as he was at this point, this dude is menacing as hell in this role. You believe without a shadow of a doubt that this dude will kill a person. I'm not talking about Virgil, the character. I'm talking James Gandolfini, the actor. Yeah. I totally buy that.
I still think he killed like 5 motherfuckers. I don't know, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God. Like the way he looks at Alabama in that scene where he's basically holding her hostage before he even lays a hand on her. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this dude is going to do some terrible things and he's going to take great pleasure in it. He has a way of giving this smile, this like half smirk on his face before he's about to take action where you're like, oh, that gives me chills down my spine, man. And then he, obviously like the fight ensues and he's going through all these actions here. And it's just brutal. He brings brutality to that scene and to that character in such a magnificent way that really makes you, I don't know, man. It gives you chills, man. It's a really, really great performance amongst many great performances that you can give.
Like so many, it's so small, but it's like Robert Mitchum Cape Fear level threat. Right?
Big time. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good comparison. Yeah, and you can tell, and it's one of those great moments too, where you can like look at this and go, "Oh, I totally see why he is this, that, and the other." Right? Predominantly being Tony Soprano, but you look at most of these guys, and you're like, "Oh, that's totally why they got this role, they got that role," because they're perfect for that because they were perfect in this. And Gandolfini is just one of those many examples.
There's a scene like when you kind of see him when he walks in with Christopher Walken in the group, or like he's just, they don't really highlight him because he's not Tony Soprano yet. But there's the bit where Dennis Hopper and Christopher Walken are going back and forth for a bit, and Christopher Walken like nods to Tony Soprano or Gandolfini to like cut his hand. And that was the first time that I noticed him. It's just a flash out of nowhere to Tony Soprano standing there with that fucking look on his face, and I laughed. Like something about it seems so out of place. Like, what the fuck is he doing in this movie out of nowhere? But yeah, he was amazing in it. So
I've already been like tempted to do a revisit of The Sopranos, right? But now after rewatching this, I'm like, as soon as I'm done with Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I'm going back to The Sopranos.
Oh yeah, great choice. That was actually my runner-up was James Gandolfini. I love how he talked about like the first time killing somebody, to Patricia. It's hard the first.
I threw up. Would you believe it? I threw up.
The second time you think it's going to be easier, but it's not. But then the third time,
he's
got that same voice, that same syncopation. It's his delivery is so good. And what's crazy is you just know him as this threat, this looming threat throughout the movie, and then he gets that scene with Alabama. Dude, that's the hardest scene to watch, man. But at the same time, you're riveted because of his performance and Arquette's performance, right? They both do such a great job there. But like, this movie's brilliant at building things up and then letting it lie and then paying it off more than what you expect.
Can I say one more thing about him before we move on? Because
go for it, man.
It was so damn good. The moment where he finds the cocaine under the bed. I can't believe it was under the bed. I can't believe you put it there. I can't believe I didn't get it there. And he gets it. He's all happy about it. He's like, one less thing to worry about. And then he gives a little look over to her. And in that look, you do see like some heart. Like he's talking about it's so fucking easy to do. But I love that they also put that in where it's like it's not completely easy for him to do it. He still is regretting having to kill this girl. And I thought just that little bit was impressive. It added so much to his character. Like a lesser actor couldn't have pulled that off.
Did you think it was regret though? Are you talking about the scene where she's got the wine cork thing, like kind of like threatening him?
Before that, but like right before he just gives a look as he's like getting up, and just in that look, it's like it's just him thinking like, oh fuck, okay, I got to do this now, but he's not excited to do it. There was a little bit of like, oh, she does got a lot of fight in her, whatever. But I just love that little moment.
It's funny. I was thinking of the wine cork scene, like when she actually does it, and I was thinking the exact opposite, which could just be a change in tone and a change in attitude. Where I feel like there was a moment of relief, like, oh, I thought I was going to walk away without being able to kill her. But now I get to do what I think is so much fun.
And I love when he's like, "Do it,
yeah,
stab me with that." He's like, "I'll give you one good shot." And she hits him in the foot, and he wasn't expecting it. Like, Jesus Christ, man.
Oh yeah, great choice. Gandolfini choose up his scene as well. I'm gonna also shout out Bronson Pinchot, like I said before, from Perfect Strangers. That scene where he's on the roller coaster is hilarious. The scene where he gets caught with the cocaine in the car is funny as hell.
Oh my god, it's all over his face.
The scene where,
I hated that girl. I hated that girl so much. So, first of all, I hated him. Why are you trying to give it to her? That's not gonna work. Come on.
The scene where he's being interrogated is fucking phenomenal. The scene where he's in the elevator and Christian Slater got the gun to his face. Just all of it. Even in the end when he's like, I don't got nothing to do with this, right? So I can get out of here. And then the director's like, you motherfucker, I treated you like a son.
I love the bit too where he's like really concerned about his balls. Is it safe for this to be? And I remember that shit back in the 90s. They were like, everybody wearing Walkmans, you're gonna get cancer. What?
Another big, huge shout out to Chris Penn and Tom Sizemore as the detectives. Tom Sizemore was fucking. I like this guy. This fucking guy's hilarious,
dude. When it keeps cutting back and forth to Bronson, and then it cuts to them on the radio, like, "Come on, sell it, be an actor, come on."
I love the bit where Chris Penn's like, he's gonna fucking kill him. And then Tom Sizemore's like, he's not gonna kill him. He's not gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna kill him.
Yeah.
And
And
Chris
3
Penn,
minutes before, they're always like, no, we've done this a million times. We'll pull you out. There's no danger. We'll pull you out. Don't worry. And there's like, he's gonna kill him. He's gonna kill him for sure.
yeah. And Chris Penn being so hyped up to get the collar, like this fucking
Who
guy.
the fuck are these guys?
He's a dirty cop and whatever. We just want the fucking collar. You know what I'm saying? Like
He's
and
really good. Why did he not have a better career?
I
Between
know.
this and Reservoir Dogs, he's really good, man.
I wonder, like, was there drugs? Is there a story behind that? Because yes, best of the best. If we're talking about Penn, because I might have lost track. You guys talking about Penn or Sizemore?
Penn.
Fucking best of the best too. Like that's what I know him from originally. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
why didn't I was thinking the same thing, Robbie?
Yeah, no, he was and at the end when he shot the guy behind the bar, like he
No.
totally like fuck this, like you're
Call
dead.
me an ambulance. No, I'll call you a coroner. What a gangster ass line.
Of course, shout out Christian Slater, who puts in a great performance as like, I mean, I don't know whether to call him crazy, an idiot, or any of that, but one thing he is lovable, right? Like he just has this childlike energy to him and innocence that I absolutely love. But I'm going to highlight Patricia Arquette as Alabama. She is absolutely fantastic. And I agree with you totally, Robbie. Never realized how absolutely gorgeous and hot she was until this film right here. And her performance, again, just like Christian, like the same thing, just the female version. I don't know if she's dumb. I don't know if she's crazy, batshit insane, but she's also fucking like so innocent and lovable. Like when she tells him, when she tells him I love you, you know, like I just want you to know that, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who does this kind of shit? You know what I mean? But you totally buy it with her for some reason. You totally buy this like, I just love you from first sight kind of thing, and it's just something that doesn't happen often, but we know that it happens. People do fall in love like this sometimes. You know what I mean? There have been whirlwind romances, 24-hour things like this, and she just does it so well. And when he kills Drexel and he comes home, and she looks like she's gonna be pissed, and she's like, "This is the most romantic thing."
I know.
Yes.
That's when you're like, oh. Fuck. They
Also,
are
her
fucked.
performance in that James Gandolfini scene.
And yeah,
right?
and that's what I was gonna go to next. When she comes in and she starts laughing, right away, she's giggling and shit, but you know she's scared to death, but she's fucking playing it off.
My
you know what I
boyfriend's
mean?
on the way. He's a football player.
Yeah, just getting off practice.
Yeah. And she grabs the damn cork and she just holds it up and she's just sniffling and crying and, you know, grunting and shit. And she just puts in such a great performance. But as does everybody in this fucking film. This film is phenomenal as far as cast and characters. But yeah, man, let's move on to the style.
Well, we didn't even mention Samuel L. Jackson and talking about pussy.
Well, go ahead. You want to highlight it real quick?
No, just he describes it very well.
Oh man. But yeah, man. Let's move on to the style and structure. I think you're on mute, Vern.
Nothing. I was just saying Brad Pitt, best pothead ever. Please.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and Val Kilmer, right? Who Val
It's
Kilmer? So
Elvis.
apparently the decision to cut off his face was like made in post-production.
Oh wow.
And Tony was really worried about Val getting really pissed about that. We're talking about a guy who was like a star of Top Gun, right? Val Kilmer was a big deal. And he goes, oh no, man, that fucking shit works perfectly, dude.
Yeah.
And it does, man. It really does.
And
I wonder how
that's
much of
one
that
the-
has. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and that's one of the reasons that plays into like these people are crazy. They're absolutely crazy. They're batshit insane. Like he's talking to Elvis.
It
You
makes
know?
me wonder if Garth Ennis read or watched True Romance before he did Preacher, because one of the big things of Preacher is that Jesse Custer has an imaginary friend, a mentor, who is John Wayne, right? And it just makes me like wonder, dude, that's got to be an influence, right? Because John Wayne is utilized and even shown the same way as Elvis is in this movie, as
That's
John Wayne
cool.
is in Preacher.
Yeah.
I bet you're right.
Yeah.
Well, part of me wonders what's if this had anything to do with it, but Tony Scott, I guess, really, really wanted to get Elvis songs to start and finish the movie. And they could not get the permission. They were not going to get
I think
Elvis's
they were
estate.
in Quentin's original script too, as well.
Exactly, yeah. So without getting that, it makes me wonder if you would have needed their sign off to get not likeness necessarily, but like, you know, to get the sign off on having Elvis actually portrayed in the movie as well. And then they, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like the restriction kind of builds something better than what it could have been itself. Because if you just show Elvis on screen, then maybe it doesn't have the same impact as the implication that it is him without showing it.
It's
One of
the
my favorite
shark
things
in
about this
Jaws.
movie is
Yeah.
is one of my favorite things is the commentary, right? The commentary on this movie is there's a commentary by Quentin, right? Just solely Quentin. And he's talking about the movie and he talks about Clarence is me, right? Like Clarence is 100% Quentin Tarantino at this moment in time. I'm a huge Elvis fan. I would fuck Elvis. And then he winds up becoming friends with Lisa Marie Presley, Elvis's daughter, right? And she comes over with a friend. So I can't remember who it was, but it's somebody famous. And he wants to screen this movie for them. And he says in the commentary, then all of a sudden I got really nervous because I realized, fuck, this movie starts with me talking about how much I want to fuck her father.
I'm not gay or anything, but if I had to choose, and
Gun
then he
to
looks
head.
back too, like nobody's looking.
I'd fuck Elvis.
I'd fuck
Raise
Elvis.
your hand if you fuck Elvis.
Yeah.
But
Come
now,
on, y'all. Raise your hand if you fuck Elvis. Come on.
I'm sure there's people in the chat raising their hand right now. But yeah, man.
I guess the question is which Elvis? Right?
Fat, cocaine addicted Elvis, baby.
Jailhouse Rock Elvis. I
There you
can't
go.
raise my hand far enough.
Okay, I got you. I'll support you on that one. Yeah, style and structure, guys. So this movie was shot on location, Detroit, Michigan, and various parts of California, including Los Angeles, Burbank, Pasadena, including the Safari Inn in Burbank, the Vista Theater in Hollywood, and Ray's Restaurant in Santa Monica. And I think that this movie, first of all, is quintessentially those places, right? Because when they're in Michigan, it looks like the Motor City. I've never been to the Motor City, but I feel like that's the Motor City, especially when you're in Dennis Hopper's little camper thing in the back of a train yard. But then when they get to Cali, it definitely feels like Hollywood. Definitely feels like California. I don't know if it's Brad Pitt giving me that vibe.
I think it's Tony Scott's Hollywood, right? His California, because you get to see that.
Yeah. But not only that, but this movie has incredible editing. You know, I know it was supposed to be juxtaposition or whatever, different, time frames or whatever. Non-linear, yeah. But even in linear fashion, I think it's very well edited. Especially that shootout scene at the end, I think is a masterclass in editing. I also think that its length is perfect.
Said.
the Tony Scott, again, I love when Quentin Tarantino directs and writes his movies and stuff, but I also love when other good directors pick up his scripts, like From Dusk Till Dawn. You know what I'm saying? Robert Rodriguez rocked the shit out of that. And I don't know if Quentin would have done as good a job as Robert Rodriguez. You know what I mean? I would love to see more Quentin scripts directed by other directors. But yeah, style and structure. Verno, what do you think?
I just find it endlessly interesting to try to imagine the movie the way Tarantino envisioned it. Just the scene where they meet in the movie theater was supposed to take place towards the end of the movie. It's I want to see that. Like I said, I think it's on YouTube or whatever. You could look it up, the Tarantino cut or whatever. Structure wise, this is another thing that I think about all the goddamn time. As I heard, I've said it many times on my show and Robbie's show. I might even have said it here, but just about Tarantino talking about how movies used to unfold, and this is perfectly that. And when I think of a story unfolding, that means you can't see the other parts until, you know what I mean? So it's it's such a great way to to describe it, because there's no way that anybody that's sitting down for the first time to watch this movie, you sit down, you do not think you're going to end up in a Hollywood producer's office in a gunfight with cocaine. Like, there's no way that you think that that's where this story is going. So I think that's so damn cool. It's, again, I watched it twice this week, and the first time that I watched it, I did not enjoy the second part of the movie as much as the first, because it's really two stories. They change locations. They're in Detroit, then they go to California, and they're really introducing a ton of new characters. So the cops that are in it, Sizemore and Penn and Michael Rappaport and Bulky from Perfect Strangers. God bless his soul. And I don't know why that threw me off the first time, and I didn't like it as much. And it felt to me almost like, damn, they're just trying to stuff as many cool actors into this movie as possible. For whatever reason, I think I was being also judgmental, because I'm trying to look at it of like, oh, I bet if Tarantino did this in his structure, it would have been cooler. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, I watched it again today. None of that bothered me. I thought it flew by. 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Flew by, dude. Doing blood splatter chatter. Almost everything we do is an hour and a half. It's way more rare for, most horror movies are an hour and a half. So, but
and some of those hour and a half movies feel way long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it flies by. Style wise, it's I would say I would still love to see Tarantino direct this. I mean, Tony, I almost said Tony Todd. Tony Scott does cool shit, but there's so many things where it doesn't, you could tell it's Tarantino's dialogue, but at the same time, it would have felt different had he done it. So again, it's also just interesting as a film lover and a Tarantino lover just to watch it and to think of, like, I bet, Tarantino would have done this or he would have done that. So I don't know, like it stands out to me as like a very well directed and like stylized, but there's not a lot of like crazy cool shots that I love. There's a lot of outfits, like Patricia Arquette's outfits are a big part of the style. The way Christian Slater looks and his hair and his just coolness is a big part of the style for me.
Dude, I dated a chick in my early 20s who dressed like Patricia Arquette in this movie, and I was embarrassed every time I went somewhere. Right?
It's not where I thought you were going. That story unfolded.
And now I regret the Robbie of 20 years old.
Yeah, like, what was I thinking?
You should have been.
She was hot.
I was gonna say you should have been eating pussy. And had you watched True Romance, you would have ate her pussy and enjoyed her outfit. I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's what I got.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, man. I again, Quentin Tarantino, just a fantastic director. But I think he would linger in places
exactly
where
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, where Tony Scott would be like, no, time to move on. And props to Tony Scott as well for taking so many characters, giving them all their their due time bits or whatever, and it still adds to the story. It's not like we're off in this direction. Well, no, everything counts. Everything builds this unfolding story, like you say. So hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Robbie, style and structure, what do you think?
Style. Let's talk about Tony Scott. I love Tony Scott. I love his style. He's one of those first MTV generation directors, right? And a lot of people look at Tony Scott, they'll think of Top Gun, Highway to the Danger Zone. That's a great film. It's a film I shit on my entire life.
Same.
Until I watched it last year on VHS on a Patreon PCP live stream exclusive. And I was like, this movie's super gay and I fucking love it. This movie's awesome, man. I love it, right? But then we covered Days of Thunder. That was a favorite movie of mine growing up, right? I loved Days of Thunder and I loved it on the rewatch. And it wasn't quite a Funhouse situation, but I felt like nobody on that panel was appreciating Days of Thunder as much as me, right? But then over the last 5 years, I've become a hardcore fan of The Hunger, which is directed by Tony Scott, which stars David Bowie, Susan Sarandon. We're going to be covering it on PCP Horror Fest. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite vampire movies. And it's got this music video style. And I feel like Tony brings that to True Romance. And I love it. Now, it would have been interesting to see Quentin direct the film. However, as Quentin's first film, I don't think the film would have been as good as Tony Scott doing it as pretty much a near veteran in filmmaking at this point, right? Of course, we know Tony Scott because of what he's done, but also don't forget Tony Scott was always in competition with his brother Ridley Scott, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, Ridley Scott's his brother, man.
Dude, so wildly different.
Wow.
So wildly different. Could you imagine those Thanksgiving dinners? Be like, I made fucking Alien. He makes fucking Top Gun. What made more money, motherfucker? Anyway, and then you could see that conversation, but two brothers with two very different film styles, but at the same time, there's something that links it visually, right? And Tony Scott cares about visuals, and the visuals in this movie are amazing. So the style to me is top notch. The structure, I also would love to have seen Quentin's original structure of his script made, because the way he did it was it started with Drexel dying. It started with that scene.
Wow.
That was like the first scene. And then basically Quentin describes it as this way. Act 1, everybody in the movie knows what's going on, but you don't. Act 2, you catch up to the characters in the film. In the third act, you know what's going on every front, and none of the characters know.
Awesome.
And that's pretty interesting. That's an interesting structure.
Yeah.
That being said, doesn't matter. I would love to see the cut, like somebody cutting up how this would be structurally in Quentin's world, but it works the way it is. It works just being told from front to back. It 100% works. I think the story and the structure are perfect. And even in this director's cut, I keep flipping this all over my fucking computer. Even in this director's cut, 2 hours long, bro, I love it, Verno. And you were talking about these hour-and-a-half movies that we have come to know and love. But this movie is 2 hours and it breezes the fuck by. And because of the performances, at the end of the movie, you just want more. You want more. Like, somebody could make a True Romance 0.5 with just scenes within scenes. I'd be down for it.
Right.
Like 100%, right? Right? Like, maybe Quentin, for his 10th movie, should revisit this world. I don't know. I'm not the filmmaker. Tony's no longer with us. Yeah.
That would be
I don't
awesome.
know if he... Yeah, Tony's no longer with us, unfortunately. But, man, it'd be cool to dive back into this world. I think the style and structure are top-notch, some of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Like I said, I think Tony Scott lends this movie an air of brevity that it probably needs. You know what I mean? And maybe that's why it's considered an action movie. Maybe it would have been more of a drama had Quentin done it. And I'm kind of glad that it was Tony Scott who brought this movie. And I'm pretty sure Quentin is too. I'm pretty sure he learned a couple of things watching.
He says it's one of his
Tony
favorite
Scott's.
movies, man.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
Cut of this movie.
One of my favorite movies is this guy doing my movie.
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But Eric, man,
other directors, especially in 2025, would be all like, this fucking asshat ruined my movie. I'm way better. But Quentin's like, no, dude, I love it. He turned it down because he's like, I already did my first movie, man. And that's something about the script too. Like, Quentin intentionally wrote this to be his first movie. Like, that's insane, brother, to me. Like, anybody else would be like, I'll direct all three, right? Reservoir Dogs, True Romance, and Natural Born Killers. But he's like, no, I only have one first movie. It's one of these three, and it just so happens to be this one. Now I'm moving on to movie number 2. And the fact that Quentin Tarantino, as a screenwriter, knows the difference between a script of your first movie and your second movie, that's insane. That's why he did Jackie Brown for movie 3. Yeah. That was his chance. Eric, you know what I'm talking about? That was his chance. He was like, I can be a little bit longer. I can do this. The third movie's where the director gets to do what he wants that may not work.
I think he said it himself, or he's like, they talk about a director's 10th movie or something like that. And they're like, oh, he's so wise, and he's learned so much. And he's like, I can do this shit right now. That's why it's number 3. Right. So
it's like a great producer, when you make a good beat, you kind of know which rapper you want on it, right? So it's like, I made a great script. I know who I want to bring this thing to life.
Dude, can I throw out a fun fact that you just made me think of? Thinking of that, he wrote the movie with the Patricia Arquette part, he wrote that for Joan Cusack.
Yeah.
You guys know
Yeah.
who that is?
Yeah.
That's such a departure from what we get. That's interesting to think about what the movie would have been. And then
Maybe today would
was,
have been like, dude, we never realized Joan Cusack was so hot.
right. Robert Carradine from Revenge of the Nerds and the Nerds movies was going to be the Christian Slater role. So different. And he didn't like the casting at first of those two, and he didn't like the idea of changing the structure until he saw it, and then he was like, "Oh hell yeah," which I think is interesting. But I would love to see that too, what they would look like in the role. So,
Absolutely, for sure. But my man Eric, style and structure. What do you think, brother?
So I feel like this is where we can all get a little critical, which isn't to say that it's bad, right? But it's not perfect. It's not perfect in the way that at least I wanted it. And at first, when I was thinking this, as I watched the movie, it was kind of the same thought pattern that we all talked about, which is like, oh man, what if Quentin Tarantino directed this movie, right? And it even goes a step further. It's like, oh man, well, he says he really loved this and he hates Natural Born Killers, which were written at the same time, one script, right? So then it makes me think, oh man, how cool would it have been if his original vision would have been there, where you can kind of like, there's somewhere where somebody made like the cut of those two movies where like they're interspliced between one another. Because in watching this every single time, I think it was Patricia Arquette's performance that did this for me. I was just like, oh my God, it is so clear that this and Natural Born Killers were written at the same time and had some kind of connection, because the level of crazy she brings is very much the same level of crazy that Mallory does in Natural Born Killers. But outside of the Quentin Tarantino-ness of it, right? I think about Tony Scott, and I think about the vibes and the tone and the feel of a Tony Scott movie. And I feel like this is the Tony Scott that I know and love. I feel like it's a half measure. I feel like it's not all the way, because I think about things like Top Gun. I think about Beverly Hills Cop 2. Am I reading off of the Wikipedia? Yes. But I'm thinking of Days of Thunder, The Last Boy Scout. And those movies have a tone and a feel and a vibe that is like undeniably Tony Scott. And when I watch this movie, all I could help but think of is like, oh, well, it feels like someone doing a really good impression of Quentin Tarantino.
mm-hmm.
And it feels like someone doing a really good impression of Tony Scott, but it doesn't feel like either one of them inherently doing it. And as I'm looking through Tony Scott's filmography, it's kind of interesting because those movies I list are very early on in his career, but they are the ones that like just pop right out in my head where I'm like, boom, that's Tony Scott. And this is kind of the last movie that he does with that feeling, because after that, well, let me list these off here. Like Robbie was saying, it starts with The Hunger. We go to Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Revenge, Days of Thunder, Last Boy Scout. Then he hits True Romance. Now, after True Romance, and you can kind of see some vibes of that, right? You can see a lineage and a lot of like California vibes, specifically that Hollywood, feel to it. After True Romance, he goes Crimson Tide, The Fan, Enemy of the State, Spy Game, Domino. Way different feel, way different tone, way different look, right? Because he was kind of like the proto Michael Bay, where there was a lot of like the orange hues to everything, right? And everything was about like everything looked like it was freaking sunset or sunrise in every freaking scene. And this is like the end of an era. This is like the last movie that he puts out in that style, which is kind of weird because again, that's why I was saying like it feels like a half measure in both cases. It feels like a half measure for Tarantino and it feels like a half measure for Tony Scott. But the great thing is that when you talk about a half measure for both of those, that's still like double the measure of a lot of like lesser writers and directors. So it's a weird mishmash, but I think it's a weird mishmash that 95% really, really works out well.
No, yeah, I agree. I agree with what you said just now. I think it is not totally Tony Scott, not totally Quentin Tarantino, but it is like they both, had a baby. They both came together and had a child. Yeah.
Before I forget this too, we were talking about the influence of this stuff, right? And the fact that it was going to be Quentin Tarantino's first movie, but he couldn't do it because it couldn't be his first movie. Another thing is, we have the hindsight perspective of all of this stuff, right? And when we talked about performances and we talked about influence, one of the things we didn't really talk about was we talked about Christopher Walken's scene that he had, that gripping, awesome scene that he had with Dennis Hopper. And it makes me wonder, do we get the watch? You know, do we get that speech in Pulp Fiction? This watch, little man.
Mm-hmm.
Do we get that if we don't see what Tony Scott does in this movie, given all of these little micro performances?
Yeah, that would have been way different if it was Robert Forster, for instance, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But so you know what? You said something very. All of that, what you're saying is, it gets me thinking, especially when you read off Tony Scott's movies post this. It feels like they both influenced each other. Like, it feels like Tony Scott went on to do something more serious, trying to get more dramatic with his stuff. And Quentin went to go and do cooler shit. Like,
right.
Good call.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like,
I think after this movie, Tony Scott's best film and only good film out of all the rest of his catalog, post True Romance, might be like Man on Fire or something.
I got to rewatch Enemy of the State. Enemy of the State of the time was
I dig.
I loved it at the time.
Yeah, but everything else, like Unstoppable, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3.
I hear that one's good, but I've never seen it. Like Denzel and
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I like
it's a remake too, right?
Yeah, it's a remake.
Yeah.
All right, that's what you got for style instruction, my brother.
That's what I got.
All right, let's move on to the soundtrack. This soundtrack was done, or the score was done by Hans Zimmer.
Who's that guy?
Shut the fuck up.
Let me tell you who that guy is. That's the guy who did The Lion King, Dune, Gladiator, The Last Samurai, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Man of Steel, Interstellar, Dunkirk.
You're telling us this is the guy who does.
That's the one. That's the guy.
In the 90s, he was just chilling with his steel drum.
And what's funny enough is there's one main theme to this movie. There's a few little pieces here and there. There's a few original songs like in the movie, but there's one main theme that kind of plays throughout the whole film. It's this little xylophone theme. And when I was doing my research, I found out that that's based actually on a much older piece of music called Grassenhauer by a lutenist named Han Nutzler. And it was written all the way back in 1536.
Wow.
So this is his like arrangement / homage to this very, very old and iconic piece of music, because apparently this Grassenhauer piece has been used in a lot of films that I didn't even know. And as well as Patricia Arquette does this like narration thing, right? And she does it over this piece of music. And it was meant to homage a 1973 film called Badlands with Sissy Spacek. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie, but the inspiration for Hans Zimmer to do that theme came from that movie, because Sissy Spacek also gives some sort of narration over the same Grassenhauer theme.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy to me. But I got to tell you the truth, guys. That was the most craziest part of this movie that I did not like when I first saw this movie. I felt like that music was very strange for the kind of shit that was happening in this movie. This delightful like dun, 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 dun. I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Some gas
under the sea, under the sea,
yeah,
under the sea.
Way out of place, fuck? Right? And this is my first.
Detroit.
This is when I first started watching this movie, but over the years, watching it, it's not only grown on me, but now I see why he used it. Right? It kind of symbolizes their fucking crazy romance in a lot of ways. They're nuts. They're fucking nuts. This music is fucking nuts, and it's also very innocent and jolly. And so are they. So is Alabama, and so is Christian Slater's character. But guys, what did you think of the music, Vernon? I'll start with you.
I got 2 words. dog shit. I fucking hated it. I don't give a fuck. I'm blown. My mind is blown that it's Hans Zimmer. Blown the fuck away. I watched it a couple nights ago, and I was like, "Well, this is terrible. Oh my god!" And then I remember, like, "Oh, we're gonna do PCP structure for this. We get to shit out of the music." And then I'm like, I hope I get to go first because I don't want to follow anyone praising the music. So excited I get to shit out of this before Robbie tells me why I'm wrong. Hate it. It's like it's all set up to get where they end up at the end of the movie, where it kind of makes sense. They're on this island,
Right?
Under the sea, and like, yeah, now we can do that. In Detroit, it's so fucking stupid. I think I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Where they're playing,
like
and
it
it
at
does
first.
that. It does do that. I totally get what you're saying, and yes, but I fucking hate it. And then today, my wife gets home from work and she's taking a nap on the couch. She started the movie with me. She's like in and out of sleep. And it comes on and she's like, "What is this shit?" I'm like, "I know, right?" I'm like, "It's so stupid, isn't it?" I hated it. He does everything that he can to ruin the fucking movie. And it goes away once they go to California for a long time. It's really like they only do it when you get Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette together. It's like their theme, like you're saying. And it really goes, and that's what I'm saying. In that second part of the movie, you get less of them together, so there's less of that theme until certain parts. I get what you're saying. I would like to see someone else or something else on it, but personally, I hate it, and I think it's stupid. I'm fucking blown away. I'm wrong because it's Hans Zimmer. And I think the music of the Lion King is the best music that's ever been put in a movie, and I know he's knows more of what he's doing than I do, but I don't know. I think it's the worst part of the movie, hands down.
No, I'm there with you, bro. I really did not. That was the part that threw me off the most, and it's totally noticeable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's not subtle at all.
Which is something that doesn't happen for me much with music in movies, but it grew from being, I always say, you notice music when it's really fucking terrible or it's really good. And when I first saw this movie, I felt like you. It was really terrible. But over the years, I've grown to understand the music choice of it and why it's there. And I can't say I still love it. I'm not saying I'm head over heels for it, but I get it. You know what I mean? I kind of get it. But Robbie, what do you think of the music in this film?
Well, first of all, I'm looking at the angles on the room that you're in, and you need to watch out. Some Lovecraft shit's about to happen. Look, any moment, right? Secondly, before I get into telling Verno how wrong he is, please, I want to talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack, like the actual music that is used, right? Like these songs that are used. None of the songs, except for maybe one, I think, that Quentin put in the script, because Quentin writes his scripts with music in there. By the way, I wrote a few scripts myself, and I did the same thing. I put music cues in there. This is the song for this scene. But when you get to production, you may not be able to get it or whatever, right? Tony Scott fought for some stuff like those Elvis songs that you were talking about, Eric. But there's a lot of music in here that is utilized that as I'm watching the film, I'm like, this would be better if Quentin picked that song, right? Like there's moments like that. It's like, why does James Gunn's Galaxy or Guardians of the Galaxy work so well? So much of the music of why that works so well is because of the choices of the songs that he makes, right? So I would also love to see a cut of this film utilizing the actual songs that Quentin put into the script. So I think that's a little weak. However, Hans Zimmer is brilliant in his composition in this film. Okay? Because number one, let's talk about this. Fable, you alluded to this, but that theme that you hear with the steel drums or the xylophone, or more appropriately, the glockenspiel, right? Like, yeah, does it sound like they're on an island resting away from everything else? Yes, it does. It's the same thing as John Harrison's score for Day of the Dead. Why does that music sound so tropical? Because it represents the dream. And when you hear that music in True Romance, that song by that score, that one bit in particular that you hear over and over is called You're So Cool.
Yeah.
That's the way Alabama and Clarence feel about each other. That is the life they are leading in their head, no matter what. And it's great that at the end, we get to see them leading that life with that music where it's appropriate. The original script, by the way, Clarence dies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that's a Tarantino thing to do.
And her monologue at the end, or if that's what it's called, her voiceover, she says, she reveals that she never loved him. It was all a fucking act. Could you imagine if that's how the movie ends? That's a huge part to do.
Thankfully, I think this is one of the reasons why me and Quentin, my best friend Quentin, why we think that this movie works under Tony Scott is because those changes were made. Because this is not now Quentin's first movie where he has to make grandiose statements, where you kill the main character, everything was false, and you kind of got this bitter, nihilistic view of art in the world, right? And you're showing that through your art. Tony's able to do this post Days of Thunder, man. Like after you make Days of Thunder, the next movie you make is going to be the most brilliant film of all time. Let's be honest, right? Days of Thunder is a goddamn cinematic masterpiece. Okay, it's also really bad. Anyway,
but it's good.
So I think Hans Zimmer is actually really good in this score, and also look at the influence of this score. Okay, let's talk about Thomas fucking Newman, right? We love Thomas Newman. My favorite Thomas Newman score is American Beauty. Does Thomas Newman's scores happen without Hans Zimmer and True Romance? I think not. The use of the Glockenspiel in particular is really, really fantastic. So yeah, I think soundtrack choices slightly off, but composing the actual score, I think is rather brilliant, especially for 1993, where it's all about John Williams trying to do something different from Superman and Star Wars and Indiana Jones for Jurassic Park. Yeah, don't forget, this is the year of Jurassic Park. This movie might be better. I don't know. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't let him condescend to you like that, Verno.
I'll fucking kill you, man. Condescend to me, bro.
Yeah. Well, let's share a fucking honey goddamn bear bowl and see what happens. We'll feel better.
You guys want to?
I love that he's made a bong out of a goddamn honey jar. I love it.
Want to come watch TV or something?
And there's still honey in there. Dude, he's the most authentic person out of all of them. He's just like, oh, yeah, man, they went to this hotel. Do you want to come smoke a bowl or something? And she's going to he's like, no, I'm good, man.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, it's not my favorite piece of music, but I do understand its choice.
Right.
Especially now that I did the research on where it comes from. And this was originally written for the lute, the instrument, the lute. So this is his homage / arrangement of this original music. And I think it does kind of like somebody said in the chat, Cannabis, their crazy love was out of place in this world, and their theme fits that. And I do agree with that 100%.
Also, how cool is it that Brad Pitt's the dude that like 4 Italians with guns show up at your door and you're like, you want to watch some fucking TJ Hooker? You want to watch some TV with me, man? What do you want to do?
Oh yeah. But 9-panel grid, Eric, what'd you think of the music or soundtrack of this movie, man?
So I'm gonna split the difference here. I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna say upon first viewing, I had the same feelings as Verno, because I'm sitting here, especially early on in the movie, and I'm like, the hell are we doing, guys? Like, what is this? Like, this is jarring. It's taking me out of the experience, and like, this just straight up does not make sense. I hate this fucking song. But coming from old 2-view Verno over here, I'm surprised because he watched it twice, and on my second viewing, or subsequent viewings, I should say, it kind of is perfect. Wow. It's like it kind of works, and I'm not saying it's like a masterpiece and it's not the best thing Hans Zimmer's ever done, but it's so uniquely perfect for the characters that are batshit crazy in this movie.
Yeah,
being batshit crazy in love. They're
and doing this paradise already.
Right? Yeah, it just kind of works, and I don't know if you could find another piece of music that would really define who they are together.
Yes.
The way that this does. Which is wild to me. I don't think that any other piece of music works in this. I'm a
The only
Soundgarden.
other thing would be that song. I want to know what love is.
I'm not going to co-sign that at all.
Yeah, that might have changed the whole like. Do I think this is a classic fucking talk?
That was just a bit, by the way. I hate to explain these things.
But it only works because of the changes that Tony Scott made, right? Because like Verno was saying, if this were the original ending with the original, conceived notion here that Patricia Arquette never really loved him, Clarence dies, all this stuff. Could you imagine if she's giving this monologue and behind it?
Well, if Hans
Like, I never
saw
loved
that
him.
movie and scored that movie, he never has another job, period. He doesn't do Lion King.
Yeah, so it's weird. You got to watch it twice. That's what it's really all about. You got to watch it twice to really get its hooks in you. You got to know where it's going before you're gonna allow it into your heart. And once that happens,
Verno,
though,
you're wrong.
then the world is your oyster.
No,
under the
he's
sea.
not.
And by
He's not
you can
wrong.
give me that feeling without it being so fucking cheesy. That's what I think. No matter what, it's still gonna be cheesy. And
I
it's
get
like
this.
It is
doesn't
Tony
match what
Scott,
Hans
dude. He directed
dream.
Days of Thunder.
And The Last Boy Scout. Let's not forget that. Oh,
That's a great movie. And by the way, if you don't think Verno loves cheese, check out Blood Splatter Chatter.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
No, I everything you guys said. None of you are wrong and none of you are right. I think it's all subjective. I'm equally there with Verno and equally there with E, and I think E is just says another version of what I'm saying. Like it sucks, but it doesn't suck. It's fucking it works. It works on a level, and only guys like us here on this panel can, what I mean, pick up on it, where I think most people would be like me and Verno in the beginning, like, why are they playing this shit during these scenes? And yeah, it only works at the end if you really think about it. But anyway, yeah, the music is interesting for sure. All right, so us here at Pop Culture Philosophers, man, we like to dive a little deeper. We like to go a few layers into things and philosophize, if you will, on the themes of these movies and
Even
what
if
they're
they don't
trying to
deserve
say.
it.
Even when they don't deserve
Thank
it.
you.
We'll pull it out our ass, the deep part of our ass if we have to.
Just
But
listen
we'll
to
get
Brooks
it.
about Hard Target last night.
But yeah, man, I'm just interested to hear what your guys' thoughts on the theme of this movie or what this movie is saying to you. Verno, what do you think about the theme or what this movie is trying to say to you?
I'm glad you said that, Rob, because you're right. It's like I don't think Tarantino. I mean, not that I don't think. I know it's not his strong suit. Like themes aren't really his thing. There's messages and shit in his movies. More so as he
Django Unchained,
goes,
racism is bad.
goes down the line and
Slavery's
shit.
bad.
But it's more about what is going to be cool on screen, cool scene, cool things to say, cool things to look at and shit. And usually for these, I'm like, I'll sit and think about it. I'll do some thought. And on this, I'm like, I'll let something come to me. I'll think of it later. And then the show started. I'm like, oh fuck, I never really figured out anything for this theme other than like it's, and I don't like, or I think the theme is kind of a negative message of like throwing caution to the wind, drop, loose morals type of thing, just going with what feels good and
That's good.
committing yourself to your lover. That's really probably the biggest thing. True romance, commitment, 100% commitment, I think is the message to this. Is it the way they go about it? Is it a positive message? No, not necessarily, but it doesn't need to be. But I guess that's basically what I got. I'm sure Robbie, thank God, you can dig a little bit deeper after, but that's what I'll go with.
All right, I like it. I like the theme doesn't necessarily have to vibe with your, morals or whatever. It can definitely be a shitty theme. Like that's fucked up.
Right.
But that's what they were trying to say. Rock and Robbie, of course, my brother, great with the themes. Let us know what you think in this movie saying, man.
I think this movie's telling us to throw caution to the wind and do whatever the fuck you want. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. To me, this movie is about what would you do for what you love, right? And so the movie is called True Romance. There's a reason Quentin called this movie that. True romance. Now, first of all, it's written by a dude in his early 20s who's never experienced true romance. So it's a fantastical version of it, right? And it's a Quentin Tarantino fantastical version. So imagine Walt Disney, but instead of loving Grimm's fairy tales, he loves fucking gangster movies and kung fu movies and all this fucking crazy shit, right? That's where we're coming at here. But to me, it's a little bit deeper than that. Clarence only does the coke deal because it's a way to give Alabama the life that he feels she deserves because he loves her. He only kills Drexler because of that. He never intends on stealing cocaine and making the this isn't a crazy plot from somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like they just so happen into this. But it all starts because he goes to kill this dude because he feels like he needs to do that for what he loves. What does Alabama do for what she loves? She never rats him out. She's always down. First of all, she's down to fuck, but she's down to non-clown. You know what I'm saying? She's like, when James Gandolfini shows up, she never gives him up, never gives any information to save her own ass, right? There you go. But we can go into the other characters. What does Dennis Hopper do for what he loves? His son.
Yeah.
Never rats him out.
Yep. Pisses
Off the Sicilian. Knows that he's going to die doing so. That's why he asks for that cigarette, right? Right? What does Christopher Walken do for what he loves? Kills a man. He hasn't killed a man since 1984. You know what I'm saying? But what he loves is protecting this business. James Gandolfini, what does he love? He loves killing people. He loves enforcing. He loves being that security guy. I know a guy like that. I know a guy who will fucking be like that, right? For what he loves. What does Balky love in this movie?
Cocaine.
His position.
Cocaine.
No. He loves his position with this producer.
Yeah.
So he will do whatever it takes to satisfy this producer. But what does the producer do? He's the one who loves cocaine. Yeah. He's the one that takes a deal outside of what he would typically do so that he can make this deal to get all this cocaine, even though it's against his better judgment. But the biggest, the police, what do? Do they give a shit about Bronson's character? No, they don't. They only give a shit about the collar, right? They only give a shit about the code, right? So you see it in all these characters. But to me, one of the most profound statements in this movie is Michael Rappaport's character. What does he do for that which he loves? The love of his best friend.
Yeah.
You know what? This is not my wheelhouse. I'm just here trying to get a bit part in TJ Hooker, which apparently is very something Quentin used to do. Apparently, Quentin actually went after a bit role in TJ Hooker, and that's why that's brought up. But cool. What does he do in this movie, man? He sets up... This dude is not a criminal in any form, sense, or fashion. Less so than Clarence, right? So, like, he sets up this whole deal for his best friend, and he goes along with it. And I'm proud that I'm so happy that he got the fuck away. He did what Balky should have done. Instead of being like, excuse me, right. Dude, you're in the middle of a goddamn gunfight. You think if we're at the goddamn OK Corral with Wyatt Earp and all that shit, you think, hold on a second, buddy.
Time out.
Are we Zach Morris? Time out. We freeze everything. We talk to the audience for a bit. But no, like, it's about what you will do for your love. You see that in every character in this movie. And to me, the most profound statement is Michael Rappaport. What we will do for our friend, who honestly, at this point, and this is something that we deal with as friends, especially in our early 20s, there's a moment where you go from best friend to second best to this person's partner. Do you get what I'm saying? Like the love that they find. But Michael Rappaport, to me, is truly the innocent genius of this film.
Clarence, it's so good to hear from you. Like, how fucking sweet is he when he says that?
He puts up with a lot of shit, man. Brad Pitt's his goddamn roommate. Could you pick up some stuff? Could you answer the fucking phone? And he does this so well. We've seen Michael Rappaport in so many roles, but in this role, like, you just feel sorry for him. You're like, you're just so. I just want to come and kiss you and tell you everything's going to be okay, bruh. But you know what? He gets the fucking role. So maybe he's the winner out of all of it, right?
Mm-hmm. I like when he was like, something about did you get the note or something like that? He was like, no, Floyd smoked the second page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah, no, great shit as always, Robbie. Hell yeah, man. Eric, theme. What do you think this thing's trying to say?
So I started off talking about this movie and I used the word cool over and over and over. And I think that this is not an incredibly deep movie. We all kind of said it, right? Like, Tarantino isn't a theme dude. He's a cool dude. And I think that this is the earliest version of Tarantino cool. So the theme of this, I kind of would need to like paraphrase the movie High Fidelity, which is to say, it's not what you are like, it's what you like. Movies, television, music, these things matter, right? They're what define us. And that's so much about a portion of this movie, arguably like the definitive part of this movie, because once they go to California, it becomes inherently Tony Scott. But the first half of this movie is very Tarantino. And what happens in the very beginning of this movie? He talks about fucking Elvis, right? He talks about how much he loves that individual, right? He loves his music, loves the mythos that is Elvis. Where does he meet Alabama? In a movie theater, watching the freaking trifecta of Sonny Chiba movies,
Street
right?
Fighter, yeah.
Street Fighter, Return of Street Fighter, and Sister of Street Fighter. Where do they go after that? Is they continue their quote unquote date. They go to the comic book store where he introduces her to Spider-Man #1 and talks about the storyline that's taking place within the pages of the comic, right?
And flips through an issue of Sleepwalker.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's not what you are like, it's what you like. And that is so true to the characters in this movie, because what happens after this first date, where all it is very surface level things that we enjoy, they fall in love, right? It's an immediate connection through those things that they inherently, or I should really say Christian Slater's character, loves so deeply that it develops that bond so quickly and so strong that it turns into the true romance that is the namesake of this movie. So it's not what you are like, it's what you like.
Yeah, I love that, because Clarence loves all these things. Kung fu movies, comic books, shit like that, right? But then he meets Alabama. Fuck, I love her. I'll do anything for her. Right? And like, she feels the same way, right? And everybody else, even Brad Pitt. What does Brad Pitt love in this movie? Sit on his couch, smoke some fucking weed, watch TV. Every decision everybody makes in this movie is based on their true romance, whatever it is, right? And I love that.
And you see a little bit of the inversion of that too, because what happens as they're chilling right after their first date, that first night together, she's sitting on his couch watching kung fu movies, enjoying the hell out of it, sitting there going wah ya wah, doing that kind of shit. Yeah. So yeah.
And in the commentary, Quentin's like, "This is for a better tomorrow," the John Woo film, which I love, but in my script, it was The Master of the Flying Guillotine. And I'm like, oh, dude, that movie's way better. I love that fucking
Yeah, man. I think all of you guys really nailed it. I think you're all right that Quentin is not the master of themes. He is the master of cool. So much so that the last 3 lines of this movie is, "You're so cool. You're so cool. You're so cool." So absolutely, I get it. I'm going to riff a little bit off of Robbie with the true romance thing and Quentin Tarantino calling this true romance. Crazy love, right? You don't get it. You don't understand it. It's not something that you plan for. It's just something that happens. And it's also something that's so innocent, right? And I think the innocence of these 3 characters, I'm talking about Patricia Arquette, Christian Slater, and Michael Rappaport, this trio of friends. Their love is so pure, right? So innocent. It's like almost like a child's love. And even he alluded to it, like, the why do we love the kung fu movies, Why do we love the comic books and all this stuff? It's just this innocent child's love that I think these three characters, anytime they're together, it exudes. It exudes on the screen, right? Um, it's like your kid, right? Your kid or your dog even, like they love you. And you could like yell at them, bad fucking dog, right? Or why'd you do this, Tommy? You know? And they'll still come and hug you. It's this crazy love. I can't put a finger on it, but just to put it how Robbie said it, it's a true romance. Right? It's not predicated on anything. It doesn't have any kind of like stipulations to it. There's no circumstances surrounding it. It's just a pure, raw feeling of love. And I think that the main characters definitely exude that in this movie, especially that trio of friends. Because, I mean, so when he got the part, right? When he says, I got the part, right? They're about to go fucking deal cocaine. And they're like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, dude. You know, it's like they're really freaking happy. Or when they go to the amusement park, right? The same thing. They're doing shady shit, but it's like, dude, we're on a fucking roller coaster. This rocks. Like, you know, it's just this innocence, this childlike wonder. That I think romance may be a little bit too hard of a term, but it's still rooted in love. And I think that's really what it's about. Hell yeah, guys, man. That's awesome. All right, time to put a ball on this thing and get the hell up out of here. Out of 5 backlogs, and everybody in the chat who's been wonderful, by the way, this chat has been fantastic. Everybody, throw out your ratings out of 5 backlogs. What do you give True Romance? Verno, we'll start with you, my brother.
When I started this, I said I had 2 issues, and I've addressed one. And it's been the one was the music, so that's where my one ding was. Whatever, I said my piece on that. I still don't fucking like it. The other thing, and this took me like a while to think about, because at the end of the movie, I'm like, I still, and this isn't right. This is my first thought is I still don't like these 2 fucking characters, and then I'm like, no, that's not necessarily right. And I love the performances, Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. Love the performances. I believe their love, so that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Like I believe the love, I believe the romance. I've bought into it, but it's like I still don't. Here, there's a line that Christian Slater says, and I noticed this on the second watch. So I'm like, oh, at least Tarantino and Tony Scott are completely aware of this issue that I have with it, because it's towards the end of the movie, and Christian Slater is trying to comfort Patricia Arquette, and he's like, no, we're gonna get out of this. He's like, we deserve it. And when he says we deserve it, my instant thought is like, no, you fucking don't. And then the camera lingers on Christian Slater, and you see the wheels turn. And he's like, maybe we fucking don't. And so I'm like, okay, at least they know that. But then at the end of the movie, they're going off into the sunset. And this was interesting to find out later that this wasn't Tarantino's ending, because Tarantino really knew that they don't fucking deserve it. And I'm like, they don't deserve it. They've got this kid. I'm like, oh man, that kid is fucked. You know what I mean? That kid is totally fucked because he's with these crazy parents, man. So I think that's the only other thing that just like dings me, where I think about like The Last Boy Scout. It's been forever and a day since I've seen that movie, but at the end, it's still kind of, I might even be mixing it up with a different. Is that the one with the Wayans dude? Right?
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, they've been through all this shit, and I just remember like the heart that was there. And I feel like that's what this movie is trying to do. And for me, that doesn't work. Like, I'm not satisfied at the end where I'm like, oh, they made it. I'm so glad they made it. I'm like, they probably should have died with, and Michael Rappaport and Balky should have went and snorted some fucking lines and been shitty actors. Not Balky. He should have died too. But I think not really. Not that I want them to die, but this is something that irks me a little bit there, which is the only other issue that I have. So I'll give it a solid 4.5. And like, I might have went another 20 years without rewatching this. So I'm glad that you picked it. And can I raise another issue now that I'm thinking about it?
Good, dude. Yeah,
great pick.
Man,
Great pick. And I don't give a fuck. But can we have the discussion? I won't say it's not an action movie, but I will preface. I'll put that out there. Is this an action movie? Great pick. regardless. But in my heart, it isn't an action movie. It's a crime, thriller,
I had
romance
to.
film.
I struggled when I was picking my action movie list. I struggled, and I even Googled, is True Romance an action movie?
I did that during this
yeah,
show.
because I felt like it was more crime drama, like you said, but every search result puts this in the action movie category. So I said, fuck it. If they're gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. So I
AI
just put
says
it
it's
in.
not. I get it though. It's a cool.
But
It's
I
on
think
the.
Tony Scott.
It's on the edge of it. It's enough because where the fuck else would you put it and cover it and all that? But to me, there's something about like how much it focuses on the romance and the characters. There's not a car chase. There's guns, thank God, because that, like, you know what I mean. That's what you need. If you don't have guns, it's definitely not an action movie.
Right.
There's no explosions. There's something about it to me where it's like it's weird. And I think that's part of the reason why it's so cool and why it was, like we talked about, that bridge to help change film from this like action movie to all these different crime thriller type, I don't know, like hard to define movies that we got from Tarantino. Because are any Tarantino movies action movies? You know what I mean?
Right. It's hard.
Kill Bill touches on it, but still in my heart, no, it's a kung fu drama thing. But it's an interesting thing to think about, I think.
Yeah. I think what throws it in that category is definitely Tony Scott. Tony Scott's touches in this movie, like you said, the shootouts and everything, I think definitely put it there for a lot of general audiences. Do I think of that? Do I think of this like that? Not necessarily, but I don't necessarily fault anybody for putting it there.
Right, 100%.
And I understand, and I like what you said about heart. Robbie mentioned earlier, Quentin Tarantino, would have probably tried to make a statement. He's nihilistic. He's young. You know what I mean? I think this is what Tony Scott taught Quentin Tarantino about films. Like, yeah, serve yourself, but remember who you're ultimately serving, your audience. And I think most people, rightly so, would have reacted better to this ending rather than Quentin. And I think Quentin learned that lesson because of it. Yeah. But yeah, 4.5. That's solid, dude. Hell yeah. Rockin' Robbie. What are you giving True Romance?
Well, first of all, this is totally an action movie. It's totally an action movie. It's got shootouts, and that's all I need. Plus, back in the day of video stores, there were like 6 sections in the video store, right? Family, drama, comedy, sci-fi, horror, and action. This was in the action section. Right, this is an action movie.
It's because there wasn't a crime, drama, thriller, romance. You know what I mean? But I get your point.
But I love we deal with the same thing with horror films, Verno. Right, where people go, "Is this really a horror film?
Right,
this
100%.
is more of a psychological thriller." Get the fuck out of here! Exorcist 3, Jacob Slatter. Those are horror films. Get the fuck out of here! You're crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if it leans into other genres. And that's what I love about film when they blend genre. It's what I love about comics too, right? What's Precious Metal? Is it action? Well, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Is it sci-fi? Yeah. But is it solely a sci-fi book? No. Is it a drama? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is it a comedy? In no way whatsoever. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but these are movies that can work in many layers, right? And I remember when we first announced this list, as much as I love Damien from Sleepy Reader 666, he goes, "You mean sci-fi action? That's what you're doing. This is a sci-fi action fest." I'm like, first of all, asshole, Hard Target and True Romance are not science fiction. Everything else we're doing, yes, I'll give you that. But I love the blending of genres, and that's something that we get from Quentin Tarantino's script, from Tony Scott's directing. Is Days of Thunder or Top Gun an action movie? Top Gun's considered an action movie, is it? You don't have that goddamn Zach Morris power right now, Bruno. But
let me just say, years ago, this was some years ago, and don't get wrong, the only reason I raised this because I think it's interesting to discuss. You know what I mean? Years ago, you were on Rockin' Robbie Live, and you were like, "All right, put your movies down right now. The first 10 movies I see, we're going to vote on for a set and action fest." And I actually, as I'm saying this, I realize I was more, but I threw in Reservoir. I'm like, oh shit, and I said Reservoir Dogs. You're like, not an action movie. Move on. And I was like, you son of a fucking bitch. And I've held that vendetta for years. I'm
Well,
finally getting
Reservoir
it out.
Dogs is not.
But
an
you're
action
right.
movie.
As I say that, there's no shootouts, there's no guns. It's just all implied in that movie. But
Well,
I think
at the time too,
Tarantino's the interesting one.
I believe there's an unheard of seventh genre called crime fiction, right? And I'm a huge crime fiction fan. Like, you know, like Quentin Tarantino lies in that. Movies like The French Connection lies in that. We did French Connection for Actionfest. I had a problem with that, right? Like, I was like, should I do French Connection? But when you look up best car chases of all time, French Connection is on there.
Well, even
you know what I'm saying?
You
So
did
like,
the Turtles movies, and I don't think the first 2 or 3 Turtles movies are necessarily action movies, but the Michael Bay ones sure as shit are. The other ones are kung fu movies, and there's just this subtle difference. It's semantics.
I just decided if there's gunplay, if there's fighting, if there's explosions and guns.
Wait a minute, but like
arts, it's an action movie.
Yeah, is Bloodsport an action movie? I would argue yes.
No,
I don't remember a single.
Not in my heart.
Action is more than
what?
high-speed chases, man. It's fighting. Bloodsport's an action movie. Martial arts films are action movies.
Kind of.
Right? Like
it's sort of like
depends on your
thrillers.
definition. It depends on your definition.
Fighter is an action movie.
Yeah,
I do.
It's sort of like thrillers. When thrillers have a dark fucking tone, they can be put into the horror, right?
Totally.
But when thrillers are bright, sunny, colorful, you know what I'm saying? Then they're fucking action movies. Then you get speed and
There's
shit like
nothing worse to me than the word thriller. Meaning, like, what's a thriller? What the fuck does that even mean? It's like psychological thriller. This is psychological thriller. This is a thriller movie. What the fuck does that even mean?
It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, what does the word thriller even fucking mean?
A movie that thrills you.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, goddamn fucking Citizen Kane thrills me. Is that a fucking thriller? No.
How does that thrill you? What the fuck?
What are you talking about? Have you noticed the way it's shot? Do you understand the technology in 1941? What's going on here, man? What's going on?
I mean, maybe it's a little bit like a certain definition of a different genre of movie, if you will. You don't necessarily know how to define it, but you know it when you see it.
That's right.
Waka waka.
That being said, I didn't mean to cause any controversy here tonight.
I did. That's why I brought it up. That's good. That's good shit.
But
we're philosophizing. Come on.
True Romance does exactly what it sets out to do. It's not the Quentin Tarantino vision, but it's actually, in Quentin's word, probably better than what he would have done. Right? I love this film. I think it's amazing. Brilliant performances. Brilliant music, style, structure, flies on by. Thematically, it's there. People that say Quentin doesn't have any like themes in his movie, I would disagree, but I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I love this fucking movie. I think it's brilliant. 5. Ya digs. All motherfucking day. And if you disagree, I got 2 words for you. Suck it.
Oh,
then I got 2 more
up
for you.
Bobby.
What's genre?
All right. 9-panel grid, man. What are you giving True Romance?
Oh man. I gotta follow that up. Okay. You know, we talked a lot about how this movie, well, I've talked a lot about how this movie feels a little bit like 2 different versions of movies, or it feels like hybrids of 2 things. And because of that notion, and because I believe it even more so after this conversation, it's hard. I can't give it a 5 because it's an imperfect movie. There is a perfect, somewhere out there, some way, somehow, there is a perfect version of this. But we haven't gotten to experience that. We haven't gotten to see the balls to the wall Tarantino version, and it didn't really deliver on what a Tony Scott movie is 100%. And because of that, and because we, again, hindsight, because we know what these filmmakers, writers, actors, we know what they're capable of, I can only go as high as a 4 on this one. I had a hell of a time. I think it's a great movie. I will be watching it again here sometime in the near future. Is it a perfect movie, though? I can't say that. I can't quite say that. And maybe the steel drums or the glockenspiel are influencing me. I don't know.
Just glockenspiel.
I would say there are
Tom
no
Steen did the
perfect
soundtrack. Would you be
movies.
happy? You know what I'm saying?
Whoa. Okay, hold on. We're gonna hit time out here one more time here. Did you say there's no perfect movie, sir?
No
Have
perfect
you
movies.
seen Jaws? It exists. It's a
I
real
get it.
movie.
I get it.
100%.
No perfect movie.
Back to the Future is better than Jaws, and it's still not perfect.
Somebody kick this man off his own screen. Get out of here.
Are there any Tarantino? Or is this better than any Tarantino movies? I have a feeling that you guys would say definitely yes. I kind of say only like Death Proof for sure. I
think
say
it's
I
better than
definitely like
Death
this
Proof.
better
I
than
think
Death
it's
Proof.
slightly better than Jackie Brown.
How?
I think
Wow.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree
I think it's
completely.
better than
Yep.
Late.
Better
Right?
than what?
Late.
Maybe I might agree with you.
I
There,
like
too.
that movie.
I love that movie. I don't know.
And I honestly think it's better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I love. And I think is one of Quentin's best films.
I
But
agree.
here's the thing.
Wow.
Most Quentin movies, I give a 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So there you go. And a perfect movie, Eric, get the fuck out of here. Have you ever seen
Never.
Surf Ninjas?
Get the fuck out of here. Have you ever
I'm happy
seen?
to say I've seen the review of the movie, and I know everything I need to know.
Well, have you ever seen Exorcist 3?
Get the fuck out of here.
I've heard a lot of great things, or at the very least,
Have
interesting
you ever
things.
seen Necromantic?
Fuck no.
Skip it.
There is no perfect movie because everything's subjective. That's why there's no perfect movie, because everybody will come away from anything you watch that you think is perfect and find something why it's not perfect.
The only
If you
thing
follow
that-
up and give this a 5, I swear to God.
the
I am
only thing that's
absolutely
objectively perfect as far as film goes is Children of Paradise.
no.
The
That
3.5
would
hour
be
movie about a mime in love.
that would be the Transformers, the movie from 1986. That's the perfect movie.
Boom!
Masters
Masters of the Universe, 1987. That's a perfect movie, right? Yeah.
I'm absolutely giving this a 5, Eric. Are you fucking kidding me? This
Hypocrite.
movie is seminal. This movie has a freaking and just one of the best casts of all fucking time. Some of the best character work of all fucking time. This movie has stood the test of time. It is, even not being directed by Quentin Tarantino, absolutely one of his best films without even being directed by him. And not only that, but I've seen this movie so many times over the years, and every fucking time I watch it, I fucking love it. There's never a time where I sit there and be like, I used to like this when I was 15, but now that I'm whatever, I don't know so much. No, this shit holds up very well, and I think it is a watershed moment, and I'm not playing. Like, you know what I mean? I really believe that. Like I said, I did not watch this in 1993. I probably watched it in 1997 or some shit like that.
Same.
And when I went back and I said, oh, this little movie that went under everybody's radar, this is the shit that set the tone for what the fuck is going to be coming from, like Robbie said, a Miramax or the Weinstein Productions and the extreme 90s and everything that came from that, which birthed everything in the 2000s, right? It's like and of course this comes from everything before it too. Let's not say like it's the most original thing in the world. Sonny Chiba obviously had something to do with this movie. You know what I'm saying?
Quentin Tarantino and Tony Scott walked so that I have a good analogy.
No, absolutely.
So
For the
that booty
for the
tank could run.
Wachowskis to make the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? For Fight Club, for all those crazy movies that we saw going forward. I think this is absolutely seminal. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, the soundtrack is sort of fucking crazy. I still don't like it the most, but I understand its choice. This movie is an absolute classic. It's a banger. It's a 5 for sure. All freaking day, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right, guys. So we got a 5 for me. 4.5, Reno?
Yes.
4.5. 5 from Rockin' Robbie. 4 from 9-Panel Grid, and I believe somebody scored it in the chat. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. 5.69. This movie holds a special place in my heart that I needed at the time I watched it in my life.
I like cannabis.
Yeah, so do I. Both the person and the fucking plant. Oh, so yeah, man, that concludes our review of True Romance. That concludes our portion of Action Fest 2025. Man, this has been an absolute pleasure. I couldn't have thought of a better way to end this season of Action Fest over here than with these fellas right on the screen. My masters of horror crew. You guys absolutely murdered it tonight. You guys are the best, man. I love doing this with you. Thank you for, diving deep and philosophizing on True Romance. And again, even though I disagree with Eric, I totally appreciate his perspective. You know what I mean?
I still respect you as well.
Yeah, Bob. do you respect Bobby De La Ghetto giving it 3 backlogs though? Let's highlight that.
I don't personally, just so
Yeah,
you know. I'm not
might-
ashamed to say that.
We might just have to get
I
him
think
on.
Bobby is slightly overrated.
Never.
No, never. Bobby's the man.
Not Bobo.
You're
Bobby-
wrong, Bobby, but
Bobby comes across as if Bobby wanted to direct himself, but brother Joe directed him instead.
You might have something there. You might be onto something. But yeah, guys, this is
Bobby, watch the whole.
wonderful.
You understand the bit, man. I'm not talking shit about you, man.
Yeah, we love Bobby over here.
I love
yeah,
you,
guys.
but I don't.
Of course, man. We all have our own channels. We all do our own things. So, guys, before we head on out of here, why don't you let the people know what you got coming up? I'll start with my boy Verno. Verno, what you doing, brother? Where the people can find you?
Peeping Tom, 1960. I'm in the middle, or not the middle. This is pretty much the start. We just started. We did Psycho, doing this what I think is a pretty fucking cool series where we are studying the evolution of the horror up to Halloween 1978. So pretty much we're going to watch a bunch of giallo movies, a bunch of proto slashers and early slashers that kind of paved the path to Halloween. And we're doing, this is a lot of people, this came out right before Psycho, and a lot of people would consider this the very first slasher ever made. It's a character study, killer perspective, creepy ass fucking cool movie, beautiful, like by a really, really competent director.
Oh yeah,
it's on Zumo. So go check it out. Come hang out with us on Blood Splatter Chatter Thursday at 8:00 Central Time. And I'll throw it out there, since you mentioned it, Masters of Horror. We'll be doing it in a couple, 2-3 weeks, sometime soon. But yeah, if you enjoy this is the crew that we have every 6 weeks or so, where we're going back through the old Masters of Horror Showtime television show, which has been a lot of fun with this crew right here.
Yeah, if you want to know, if you want to see more of Robbie telling everybody that on the panel that they're wrong, check out the Masters of Horror show.
Right.
Don't condescend to me, man. I'll kill you, man.
That's like the best line ever. Because we know that. I love that they did that, because there's this hippie ass dude, but I know a lot of violent hippies in my day, man, for sure.
I feel like I got to get a honey bear bong next time that we do a show together.
Absolutely. Verno, man, always a pleasure, brother. I love doing these things with you, man. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Rocket Robbie, man, the man who put this all together, who let me be a part of this fest and all the fests that he's had in 2025. I really appreciate you, brother. I love you to death. You know that already. That's why I give you so much shit. I only give my bestest of friends the most shit. So if I fuck with you a lot and you're like, fucking Fable, understand that I love you so much. Robbie, let the people know what you got coming up, brother.
Those that can dish it out can take it. And if they can't, they ain't real, motherfuckers. It's the year of the heel, everybody. Anyway, yeah, we first of all, as soon as this show ends, the weekly comic book review goes live. I held that back for you, Fable, because I love you so much. I didn't want people being pulled away from this show to check out my thoughts. However, I will say this.
Appreciate it.
The most unpredictable pick of the week ever. If I laid out every book that came out this week, nobody would pick this as the pick of the week. So you just wait and see. That being said, Rockin' Robbie Live on Sunday, we may announce the Horror Fest lineup. I don't remember when I told y'all I was going to do it. If I told you August 3rd, I lied. I'll be in New York. So it's this weekend. This weekend. So
yeah,
we will at least have the PCP Horror Fest lineup revealed on Sunday night for
I
Rocky
got
Robbie
you. I
Love.
got you. I
Well,
catch what you're
I'm
throwing.
just saying, I don't think I'm going to get Dylan's by Sunday.
I
With
catch
that
what
being
you're
said,
throwing.
Horror Fest is on the way. Get ready for that. Really cool stuff. And I will go ahead and announce an exclusive announcement. First confirmed PCP movie night for 2026, Reservoir Dogs.
Let's go.
Ooh,
Let's
So
booyah.
there you
go.
go. There you go. We're doing it. We're doing Reservoir Dogs because that movie's very, very important to me
Hell
in
yeah.
my life and my enjoyment of film and pop culture.
Hell yeah.
So there you go. But also, Action Fest ends on Monday night
There you go.
with the Terminator franchise. All 6 Terminator movies reviewed on Pop Culture Philosophers. It's going to be a great conversation. These Transformers. I almost said these Transformer reviews are always the best we do. These franchise reviews are always super fun. Verno knows what I'm talking about.
Hells yeah.
Fable knows what I'm talking about. They've both been there. They're
Mhm.
super fun. Eric will one day have the balls to join for a franchise review. But
I'm not watching 7 movies where 2 of them are good.
J-
I'm not
back-
doing that.
What's funny is that he says 7 movies, and I'm like, bruh, we've done franchise reviews that go into the 13, 14, 15 movies. Like, have the
great.
balls, Eric. That's my final thought. And by the way, join us for Terminator, the franchise. It's only 6 films. You can watch those. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Station Pop Pop
Everybody.
Boom. And not Eric. I'm not proud of you, but Fable, I'm proud of you.
Thank
Verno, you're doing a good job too. But
Hey.
Fable, I'm proud of you. Eric, do better.
I set the bar very low.
Pay attention to the waves.
The waves.
Fuck
There
the
you go.
waves.
I say we
God
should,
damn it.
for posterity, we should throw out there R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne. As I just saw someone shouting out to Michael
Yeah,
Madsen.
man.
We lost Ozzy today. It's worth bringing up. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it is sad, and we lost Michael Madsen as well.
Malcolm.
But it is sad we lost Ozzy. But let's be honest, everybody knew that was coming.
Yeah.
But it is sad and very like poetic. That
Right.
It happened after his farewell show.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Malcolm Jamal Warner. I used to love the Cosby Show.
Oh
despite-
yeah. Theo,
What?
man.
Right. Yeah.
Theo died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He
He
drowned.
drowned on vacation, man.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrible.
By the way, today at the shop, I don't like to use my authority too much, but I said today, nothing but Black Sabbath.
Mm.
And
While
they've
the
been,
Cosby
they've been
Show was
playing
on.
Black Sabbath.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And what's crazy when we were talking about that at my shop, all these 20-year-olds that work for me were like, "You watch the Cosby Show? Did you know he's a fucking rapist?" And I'm like, "We didn't know that in 1987."
Yeah,
Get the
we
fuck
didn't know
outta
that.
here.
What the hell? Get out of here. What are they called? Gen XYZs? I don't know what the fuck.
Jen, I don't give a fuck.
Jen, bullshit. Jen, that's what it is.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure, Robbie. Thank you so much again for making me a part of this, and thanks for bringing, that fire, that energy, that philosophy in the pop culture philosophers.
Well,
to
thank
these
you. And
movie
thank you for
reviews.
acknowledging me as the creator of Action Fest.
Of course, dude. Of course, dude.
I'm the best.
I was gonna say something about Seth Rollins, but I just lost it. Anyway, 9-panel grid.
Burn it down, motherfucker.
All right. Well, since Robbie called me out and said I needed to up my game, and Verno brought props to promote his shit, I guess I'll do the same thing. Much like Robbie, arguably better than Robbie. I also do my own review show here with all kinds of these things that are going around here.
Let's
So
go.
check out my comic book reviews that drop every single Sunday, which is arguably later than Robbie, but he works at a
Nice.
comic book store.
No, Eric,
don't.
you do a great job. How many awards do you have for that?
Oh,
Like, I mean, my kid brought me like a greatest dad coffee cup, so I got that going for me, which is nice. So check me out every single Sunday, dropping those. Check me out tomorrow over on Dr. Doom's fan club, where we won't be going over Ghost Pepper, but Ghost Pepper was really awesome. We maybe will be going over Red Coat. Red Coat slaps. Check this out. We will not be going over This Ends Tonight, but how poetic, because the stream's about over. So this did end tonight.
That book sucks.
It was real bad. It was real bad. Don't read it.
Oh man, E, thank you so much, man. I feel like I have to pull teeth to get this guy on the show. with me.
Dude,
But,
I know it's been forever, and I'm so glad I got a chance to hang out with you on stream again. I need to make time to do this more often.
By the
Right,
way,
yeah.
Eric, I got some gaps in Horror Fest. I need some panelists. I put it out in the
I know.
chat
I know.
just
I
so
saw.
you know.
Yeah,
Just
not
saying.
everything has to be pleasurable to be on, Eric. Okay, you could choose some of the shit.
Mhm.
Okay, like
And then I'll get the wide eyes. You gave it a 4?
I know.
Four?
You never know when you're gonna walk into a movie like, oh, obviously no one like this is. Hey, did you guys know this is the greatest fucking movie of all time? Like, oh fuck, here we go.
Dude, Slumber Party Massacre 2. The fucking best movie of all time.
I know. I always be like, man, I'm gonna ruin tonight, and then it's confirmed when the show starts and Robbie starts waxing poetic. I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, but anyway.
When it comes to Horror Fest, just so everybody knows, they're all my favorite movies.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah. All right. So catch us this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern on this channel for the all new, all different Blame Fable show where we're continuing our bags, boards, and badass women, where we feature all the beautiful ladies, all the comic book collecting women of our community. And this week we are featuring none other than the lady Fantastic, man. Can't wait to have her. She's such a she knows so much about books. It just like puts me to shame, man. She is absolutely what her namesake is. Fantastic. Come check us out, 9 p.m. Eastern for that. And I guess, yeah, that's all I really got going on. Now that Action Fest is over. But stay tuned for Horror Fest, guys. We're getting right back into the game with it. I got a list partially done. I'm actually curating my list with Two Gun Pedro. I reached out for some help because I know Two Gun knows his shit. So hopefully he's giving me some suggestions there. We're gonna put together a good list for this channel. Thank you everybody, like I said, that watched all the movie reviews, that subbed up, that came through tonight. Wow, what a crowd we had tonight. So many good people, so many good insights. Cannabis absolutely killed it tonight. With
Cannabis.
saying, oh yeah, Road Collecting, Christina, Bobby, Brother Joe Medina, just so many good people. Zoller, John stopped by. Shit, Stu was here. Fucking everybody, man. Everybody that came through. Jay was here. The Collector P. You guys are freaking awesome. Love you guys. See you this Friday and see you for Horror Fest. Station.